Know what I mean?
Welcome to Ernest Roulette,
the only Ernest podcast with a wheel.
Spin the wheel, Neil. Slam Dunk Ernest.
Go Ernest, go Ernest, go! Go Ernest, go Ernest, go! Go Ernest, go Ernest!
Slam Dunk Ernest breaks the naming convention from the previous Ernest films. It's not Ernest goes to a basketball court. It's not Ernest plays basketball. It's Slam Dunk Ernest. What
Which
else?
I'm fine with, right?
Yeah.
Not that we can change it. Sure.
Let's start a campaign.
Also the first Ernest film produced knowing it was going to be released direct-to-video.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The previous two movies were kind of in this weird spot where Rides Again was in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Very briefly.
A couple.
Ernest Goes to School was supposed to be in theaters,
But was not.
but was not. This movie came out June 1995, direct on VHS, at the height of, I'd say, the 90s basketball craze,
A year before Space Jam.
which is crazy because you'd think it was copying Space Jam on first blush, but no. And a year after,
Angels in the Outfield.
which this is definitely ripping off.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's safe to
Sort
say
of, yeah.
this movie takes place, well, let's pull up the Ernest map. We don't quite know. We're never explicitly told. There's no throwaway line of dialogue that I caught.
Now, we had our team of fact checkers, which is us,
Yep.
do a little research again. It was filmed in Vancouver,
Yep.
but based on context clues, I'm going to put it in North Carolina.
Yes.
All we really have to go by is the fact they play against the Charlotte Hornets,
Yep.
which play in North Carolina. Why would the Hornets go up to Vancouver to play against the Clean Sweep?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the Clean Sweep are in the City League, but they never say the city.
City League.
So if the City League can go all the way up to play a real NBA team and they play the Charlotte Hornets, it's probably North Carolina.
It's got to be.
The first thing we do is have a scene in the late 60s establishing that Ernest, when he gets a hand of a basketball, chaos ensues.
It's dangerous.
Yet Ernest should not have the ball.
It's
That is
basically
what that
it
scene
kinda-
establishes.
It's this kid playing Ernest. He throws the ball. It bounces off. It kind of turns into the intro from Superman 3. Yes.
Yes. I was a little worried because it was really low budget looking.
Yeah, there's some song.
You're the baby, you're the boy,
Oh, that's the lyrics?
which is a reference to Old Lady Hackmore in her inspirational speech she
Nice.
gives Ernest in
Earthly
Ernest
Kid.
Scared Stupid.
You're the seventh son of the seventh son. You're the baby. You're the boy. You are the great redneck hope.
He's just a fella that knows his business, and he thinks the world's his toy. He's the baby, he's the boy. He's the baby, he's the boy.
I was watching this scene with my wife, and she said it sounds like something out of Cowboy Bebop or something.
It sets you up for a really bad Ernest time. Oh no, is this gonna be the worst one so far? It isn't.
No.
The story's pretty good. Ernest is part of a cleaning company called the Clean Sweep.
Yep, he works as a night janitor on a crew of all African-American men and Ernest.
Yes.
They work at night cleaning up a mall, and they also, as you described, Neil, they moonlight, although they work at night, they moonlight as an adult basketball team.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why Ernest is part of this crew.
Well, they're always great at picking attainable jobs for Ernest, right?
True.
Yeah.
Usually cleaning, maintenance, stuff like that.
I like this one because he has peers. Like he has coworkers that are not doing other jobs. Like in Ernest Goes to Jail, he has like other people at the bank that he would work with, a security guard and a manager
Yeah.
and so forth. In this, it's people that are doing the exact same job as him.
Right. I think they feel a little bit belittled that Ernest is kind of on their level as well. And
Yeah.
it really plays, especially the Barry, the other main character of this movie, who has like a lot of issues with being a loser. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
You see, we're a well-oiled machine. Yeah. We've been playing together for like, what, 12 years? 5, 9, 7, 2.
I also got the vibe of like, if a child threw up, Ernest has to clean it up. And they take a big sheet over the basketball net to go, we're going to practice for the big city league. And they start playing basketball
In the mall.
in the mall.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Playing basketball in the mall at night. Yeah. It's a cool.
And they
idea.
establish clearly that Ernest really wants to be one of the guys.
Yeah.
He wants to play with them. And unfortunately, Ernest is up on a preposterous ladder, somehow gets the ball, it just bounces his way, and just like as a child, the whole crew, now grown men, say, no, just give me the ball, Ernest, just give me the ball, nothing bad will happen. And Ernest shoots, and chaos ensues.
Ernest never gets on a ladder without it fucking falling over.
Yeah.
Why does he keep getting on ladders?
Don't let that man go on ladders.
Yeah.
So there, chaos ensues, and
It lights a fire, a flag burns.
they get in trouble.
Yeah.
The cops and the fire department show up. We never see the cop car. We see stock footage of a fire truck.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And the guys are going to get in real trouble, and Ernest takes all the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Their boss, who is a Nazi,
He's absolutely a Nazi.
more Nazi jokes.
Sure.
He has a mustache. He goose steps. He's a
They
terrible
call him
man.
Sergeant?
Funnier, I guess, in 1995 than in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
We were talking about this off camera, that this movie plays with the race stuff very upfront.
Yep.
Yeah, they kind of get it out of the way. They're like, oh, you're just a white redneck, Ernest. Like, you're not going to,
And you're clumsy, Ernest. Very clumsy. And you're not just white, baby. You're whiter than white. You're a redneck. Please, right in the back.
And they laugh at him, and he laughs it off too.
Yeah.
Something I like about this film is that all of Jim Varney's lines are interchangeable regardless of the race of the other members of Clean Sweep.
He never brings it up.
No, there's no crude ebonics. There's no racist jokes per se on Ernest's
It's
part.
never their bullies.
They're hard on him because they're adults.
Yeah.
And they're not children, and they don't look up to him.
Yeah. Like
Because he's Ernest.
They're all like 40 years old, and
Yeah.
like they know he's going to screw up because this is a contract Clean Sweep has. If they lose this, they're screwed. Barry, as we find out, is married and has a kid. And the guys are all so happy that Ernest took it on the chin, that he's going to take blame for it. What are the names of the guys? There's Barry, Willie,
TJ.
TJ. The
TJ
hothead.
really hates Ernest.
TJ's seen the other Ernest
They all have
movies.
just enough characterization, I think. There's the one guy who's like, he's got round glasses and he uses big words.
That's Willie.
Willie? Yeah.
Thanks, Ernest. Yeah, for real. You stepped up, Ernest.
Totally uncharacteristic of your kind.
But the guys are happy.
Yeah.
And they now owe Ernest one. So what's the favor Ernest calls in?
I want to join the team. And they all huddle together without Ernest, and they agree basically we have to do something. And Ernest was even willing to take his own payout, which would be forever, to fix all the damages. He's not really on the team. He's going to be like the mascot.
Yeah.
And they agree to that.
Think of him as a mascot.
A mascot?
Why can't we have a smart mascot?
Yeah, like a goldfish.
They are at their first real game in the City League. And we learn that they are announced by this wonderful African-American woman named Dr. Love.
Dr. Love's great.
This is Dr. Love, your medicine woman of the air on WUSH. Whoosh.
Who is always eating a lot of snacks. I do not know why. The snacks increase as time goes on. It might be a joke I don't understand. But Ernest is not allowed to play in the game.
Despite not even being able to play, Ernest screws up.
He knocks over a bunch of basketballs and creates a technical foul that costs them the game.
Yeah, the whole team's livid. Everyone's angry. Ernest is beating himself up. He just wants to be one of the guys. Some sad music plays. The score's actually pretty good in this movie.
Yeah.
The music's actually pretty good. You know 90s synth better than anyone I know. Mm-hmm. Is this all composed like on a MIDI keyboard?
I was trying to figure that out. I was not listening on good enough headphones, I think, to really pick it apart. But if not real instruments and strings and stuff, it's like a pretty good synth, I think.
So when Ernest is at his low point, what happens?
He is visited by the Archangel of Basketball.
It's a great introduction.
Yes, portrayed by NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Why me, Lord? Why me?
Good question. Why you?
Who are you?
I'm the Archangel of Basketball.
This is not one of those Kevin Sorbo, Melissa Joan Hart kind of Christian
Dean
movies.
Cain.
Yeah, exactly.
Well put. Thank you.
Yeah.
These are the people who make Ernest movies for money.
He could be a genie. He could be a ghost.
Right.
But he happens to be an angel.
There's a great joke where he shows up, he's in silhouette with all this smoke, he's spinning a ball on his finger, and then he just walks forward and the ball's just still spinning there and just falls like it's on a string.
like he needs a prop to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
but
he
later
can
in the
do it.
movie he can kind of like force pull the ball towards him. So
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the Ernest verse, if there is one consistent, cohesive Ernest verse, God is real and God supports Ernest. And he sends his angel, his Archangel of Basketball, to deliver a pair of magical shoes called the Utopian Flights.
They're
the
like
ultimate,
Air Jordans. They're
the ultimate shoe. They're called, right?
Yes. They look like the Thwomp boots from the Super Mario Brothers movie, but blue
they're
instead of
dressed up.
Yeah.
They charge up. They have like technology in them,
They kind of have eyes.
and they're divine. There's like 3 things going on with them. But whatever, fuck it. They're magic shoes. It's all we need to know. But the thing that's confusing me is you can just buy these shoes at like Reebok. Like they're in the mall.
The angel chose to give him a sentient pair of shoes. He could have given him a crummy pair that like look like nothing, but they're magic. They're the real. No, he gave him one that's the same one that's there to tempt the boy Quincy later. But we'll get to that.
Were the shoes were the retail shoes? Did they have like those glowing like pipes? And stuff
yes.
on
Oh
them?
yeah.
Those are ridiculous.
They're the same
looking
prop.
shoes.
They're the same prop. You never see 2 pairs of them on screen at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not until like minute 40 that we actually get to see Ernest playing basketball with the clean sweep guys with the shoes on.
Right.
Well, he goes to a court by himself on his way to work.
It's a cool scene.
The shoes are a character. Being sentient are become a character in and of themselves.
They have little trilling voices.
Yep.
And they're always whenever he's not playing basketball, they're just making his life a nightmare.
It's pretty funny.
What? Now what's the matter?
Ernest like talking to his shoes and trying to move his feet and like accomplish things.
It's a good like C plot. Cause like it's like very quietly like, you could in the background, Ernest, like as this movie keeps going on, he has to like live with these shoes.
Yeah.
Like
he has to sleep with them and
can't take them off, I guess. Yeah.
He tries to. They're like made of rubber, the strings and stuff.
Yeah.
So he is also self-aware enough that he's embarrassed by their sentience.
They're always kicking people and stuff. Yeah.
He doesn't want to talk about my shoes are magic and they're telling me what to do.
He kind of like around an hour into the movie, like starts like just yelling at his feet in front of people and people just kind of don't care.
Yeah.
He's like, knock it off.
Don't make me walk through the dog poop again.
It's a great line.
Good evening, sir. Valet.
Oh, the keys are in it. Oh, sorry. It's not me, it's these shoes.
This movie, if you're a fan of the Ernest films, there is so much fan service.
Oh yeah.
And like unprecedented fan service. Like
it's like we made it or something.
Yeah, it's like Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, right? Like
It's just there's a lot of like fake companies being advertised in the basketball courts and stuff.
and they're all from previous Ernest movies.
Yeah.
We got the first one I noticed was Trantor's, because that's an odd name. Trantor's Dairy, because of all the things dairy, it's milk.
Yep.
Of all
Get
things
it?
for Trantor to be selling.
Well, that's what he's doing in hell now, I guess, is he's selling.
He's selling we have the Tulip Brothers are and you have to really be looking for that one.
Yeah.
We have Hackmore. Hackmore was the first team.
Hackmore Antiques.
Yes.
Yep. There's apple maggot insecticide being advertised.
No one got that one, I think.
That made me laugh because that's like the best joke in Ernest Rides Again.
Yeah.
Kick a key smoked fish.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
This movie counts. This movie is not cheap enough that it doesn't feel like an honest to God Ernest film. I'm already halfway through liking it more than Rides Again. I already think there's no way this is gonna like sink. This movie does feel like an answer to School. The whole parallel of Ernest getting a superpower that's gonna help him with his one very specific quest.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty one-to-one, and it was the previous movie. Like,
and he turns into an asshole in this movie, and
he gets too much hubris, has to be taken down a few notches.
Yes.
And does the right thing.
Although in this movie, the only person who's bothered by Ernest becoming like a total asshole is Barry, pretty much. His whole we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but
because the next thing that happens in the movie is Ernest becomes a superstar.
Yep.
Yeah, he finally gets to use the shoes in the game. He's magic.
They win preposterously.
Yeah.
It's like insane how good he is at basketball. And like
it's not just that he's good. He can fly, and everyone just kind of accepts it and they're like, wow, he's really talented.
Yeah. He has a love interest in this movie named Irma, which
with
is
an E.
What's her last name?
It is Tara
Taradiddle?
Taradiddle, yes.
Yeah.
Taradiddle.
She's
Taradiddle.
a great love interest for Ernest at first. I didn't see this coming.
Right.
So Irma, what's her job? She sells lottery tickets at the mall.
She sells lottery. She loves the lottery.
She's got that kind of Rocky One Adrian styling.
She really does. She really does a lot of Rocky in this movie, actually. And I like the fact that Ernest is infatuated with her and she's infatuated with Ernest.
Mm-hmm. I like that the first thing we learn about her is that she has kind of a sad job at the mall, and the very next thing we learn about her character is she wipes some snot off her nose and then wipes it on her shirt, and Ernest is still infatuated with his big
totally.
lips.
That's totally there for those of us who thought like, oh, she's still too good for Ernest. They're like,
no.
Get it, go for it, Ernest.
But what I like about that infatuation and the fact that they're crushing hard on each other is they plant seeds a few times over the course of the movie that it's just appearances. Like there's a moment early on where Ernest is like, hey, would you want to come to the basketball game and see the guys play? And she goes, I don't really like basketball. But if a guy I liked was there, maybe I'd go. And that's like a cute moment. But in hindsight, when you look back, once you've seen the full movie, you realize like, no, they really are just kind of physically into each other. They don't really know a lot about each other. Like there's a cute romance, like the phone call scene.
Great joke. He's trying to find her name in the phone book. And he's got, all right, taradiddle.
3 pages.
There's 3 pages of taradiddle. He calls it out. And he says,
3 pages of taradiddles? They must have settled the area.
That's great. What defines a relationship more for me was when he starts doing like the Humphrey Bogart dancing with the mop.
That was great.
Is like to establish that, this is him. This is a good version of Ernest because he can go from childlike, I'm in trouble, sit in the corner, to outrageous confidence in a heartbeat.
Which I think in this movie, because he's mostly around adults who don't respect him, he's acting nervous for most of the movie.
Yeah. He's in trouble for most of the
He's in trouble. He's nervous. He's worried about not being cool.
Well, most of the first half.
But he's not around kids, so he can't like puff himself up and be the hero.
I have some advice for you.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't get to be the troop leader that he often is in other movies.
Because he's aspiring to be a peer.
Yes, exactly. So Ernest is just like kind of more sniveling, and he's just like making a lot more nervous faces and stuttering more.
It's funny because we see so much more of Jim Varney's physique in this movie because of all the athleticism. He's in really good shape.
Yeah, he likes to do his own stunts. He's a physical actor.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said for Jim Varney's not old with a capital O in this film, but he's playing basketball with guys like 20 years younger than him.
So I think...
Except Rand, yes.
I can't tell if they're much younger than him because Jim Varney, I always thought was older. I want to say he's probably about 40 in this movie.
I would say mid-40s by now.
You think so? Yeah.
He's probably a little older, but like the main guy, Barry, is definitely about 40. I think I looked it up.
But maybe TJ's younger.
Yeah, maybe some of them are younger, but I think the idea is they're all past their prime.
It's very Rocky.
Yeah.
Barry, the leader of the clean sweep team and company, has a son named Quincy. There was a scene in this movie, like 20 minutes in, that caught me off guard, where Quincy and Barry are just having like a father-son talk, and the theme of the movie emerges, which is Barry feels kind of like a loser, right? Because what was it? He dropped out a...
Quincy asks, can I have the money for the shoes? Like, the shoes will not make you a winner. And then Barry explains to him, I made some bad choices. I dropped out of high school. I could have been in the NBA, but I didn't stay in school and I didn't work hard enough. And you need to be better than me. You need to make the right choices.
Yeah. It's like very serious, like real like father-son stuff.
And this kid he's right at that age where he's just kind of rude and he's upfront about...
He's not quite Bart Simpson or Kevin from Home Alone.
But he's just like speaking his mind and like really hitting his dad's insecurities without even realizing.
Totally. Barry says to Quincy, you need to work hard. It's hard work, not these like shortcuts or easy ways out. And Quincy says to him, well, you work harder than, you work really, really hard and you're a night janitor with Ernest.
Yes.
So why am I taking advice from you?
That really hit home to me.
That was
as someone
hard.
in their early 30s in 2018 who didn't come from a lot of money, like watching that scene, I was like, oh, this movie's got some guts. Like this is going to come up. And it does. It becomes the theme of the movie because Quincy sees Ernest become a borderline superstar. Ernest is about to be signed to the NBA, which is a really funny moment to hear Jim Varney go, I could be an NBA star. It just reminds you of how ludicrous this whole movie is.
Yeah.
And Quincy has been tempted the whole movie to get the same shoes Ernest has. They're on sale at the mall.
And who has been tempting Quincy? One of my favorite Ernest villains so far. Ladies and gentlemen.
Zaniel Moloch.
Well, hello there, Miss Taradiddle.
Hi. You want to buy a lottery ticket? You can make a lot of money.
Oh, really? Tell me, how does it work?
Well, you see the little waxy bit here? If you rub off 2 in a row, you get lots and lots of money. And if you rub off 3 in a row, you get even more money. Want one?
Moloch. This guy's great.
Am I an idiot for not realizing he was a demon or the devil until I had a note at 34 minutes in? I didn't notice for over half an hour. I wrote, is this guy the devil?
I mean, he's playing it like the devil. My thought was he kind of carries himself like John Leguizamo in Spawn in this movie. He's an oval and
I'd give anything to have those shoes.
Well, now you're talking. Kid, desire is 90% of the game. If you want something, you just gotta go for it.
His creeping up behind this little boy is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In a way that you would never film today in 2018. He is tempting, like, at first it could be as simple as, I sell sneakers and I want to convince this boy to buy them. That's it.
what I thought. I thought he was supposed to be like, oh, he's like an executive type. He represents
the sneaker company.
Yeah, the sneaker company. Well, he represents like selling things to children and why that's creepy.
For the sake of the story.
Yeah.
Buy the sneakers.
So I figured out like, oh, he's a more metaphorical villain than we usually get in Ernest movies.
This movie,
it's possible no one else can see him. Right?
Yes, about halfway through the movie, we see every plot thread combined, which it should, in a very satisfying way. Like Irma gets tempted by what's his
Moloch.
name? Moloch.
We're just giving her a winning lotto ticket because that's what she likes.
And that's when the twist is revealed that she's being tempted by him. And I that actually took me back too. Like I was surprised, like, oh, there's like a twist of the knife here. Like this isn't going to be squeaky clean like the previous romance in Ernest Goes to School. Quincy steals the shoes because he's convinced that that's the only way he's going to get good.
Yep, there's actually a scene that is inconsequential to Ernest, but actually consequential to the plot, where we see little Quincy out in the basketball court and he gets shoved over by some obnoxious 90s bully. And that sets the tone for him that I don't have the edge. I need the shoes to win.
Yeah.
They push him over, they bully him and stuff, and then they immediately like, hey, there's an ice cream truck, and then they all like walk.
It's all in one take.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like, so the kids are probably just going through like, and then I say this, and then I say this, and like it's kind of funny.
The bullies leave, and then Quincy goes over to this ice cream truck, and who should be giving out the ice cream but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
and might have been able to fit in that ice cream truck.
Yeah, they don't exactly.
One of the tallest men maybe in the world is in this tiny ice cream truck.
He's kind of like squeezes out.
What does he say to the kid?
He goes, hey, son, what do you want? And the kid goes, you got $250.
He's like, let me rephrase that.
What do you need? He steals the shoes, which is a bummer. And the friction between Barry and Ernest really heats up.
Clean Sweep does well enough and attracts enough attention that they are able to get it. They're able to like plan a game with a real NBA team, the Charlotte Hornets, to celebrate. They throw a dinner at a local restaurant.
All right. Go Ernest, get busy, go.
But basically like he sort of blows the dinner off. He leaves early and doesn't come back because Moloch
and Irma come.
Irma now she doesn't look the same. She's all amped up, sexed up, and she's there basically explicitly to tempt Ernest.
Yeah. And there's this wonderful scene. It's like something out of Doug again, where Ernest is seeing what his life could be like. He sees the world, and there's like stock footage of the Eiffel Tower.
Every once in a while, like Moloch's face in red, just like
This is all Moloch and Irma with an E pull him into the back of a stretch limo, which is a big deal. Considering Ernest had just joked about, I've never been to a restaurant that wasn't a drive-through with real cloth napkins. He is in the back of the limo where Moloch and Irma are giving him planting some mental seeds of what his life could become. That ultimately leads to this faux Madonna Vogue fashion shoot.
Here comes Ernest now in a flash scare ensemble that hails to the grandeur of the Ottoman Empire.
It's got to be really hard for the writers and the director, Cherry, to figure out a way to make Ernest look too vain, because he's always a little cocky and a little like, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So like you just literally have to show him fantasizing about being on a fashion show. My favorite part of this whole fantasy scene in the limo is Irma starts chanting, "You'll get me and more money and me and more money.
They're getting really orgasmic together.
Really
right?
orgasmic. And then there's this moment where Moloch tries to chime in.
Yeah.
And he says, like, you should listen to her. And Ernest just goes,
Listen to her. Stay out of this.
Ernest.
don't fuck this up for me.
Like, you're a third wheel. Time for you to buzz off.
There's another half an hour of this movie. I can ride this out.
Yeah.
Ernest has decided, because he'll get money and Irma, he will be a sellout NBA athlete.
And so his big introduction at their big game against the Hornets. First of all, he's late. They're all like, "Is Ernest not going to show up?" But then he does in the most ostentatious, making it about him way, with all this lighting changes, and Irma is announcing him, and
she's dressed as Cleopatra
with like rockets shooting from her hips.
She has pyrotechnics now.
Yeah.
It's like the most Apollo Creed thing they could have done.
Yes.
And he has a new name.
I had to turn on subtitles because I did not get this joke at first, but she introduces him as and then one of the guys on the team just kind of like gets a look on his face like,
when did Ernest become a black Muslim?
I had to rewind the movie twice. I had to call my girlfriend over because I didn't get the joke.
I stopped it too.
Because I didn't realize the joke was playing off his new name.
Right.
I guess the new name is like a lot of athletes like find religion and things like that.
Yeah,
That's the joke, right?
Yeah, it's a slightly more, I guess, like grown-up joke for this movie.
It's a commentary on rich athletes, I guess.
Sure.
Right? I think the joke played funnier in 95 than it would like post 9/11, where, there was like so much anti-Muslim racism propagating the American pop culture landscape.
Sure.
That in 1995, you could just make the joke like, oh, athletes become Muslim once they get this popular. It's kind of funny.
In a movie with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's not in this scene, so I can't...
Well, he's in the audience. He's in the...
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's watching the game.
Anyway, I don't know if he approved of the joke or not, but...
It was harmless, but it does, like, in the lens of a 2018 viewer, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
well, the whole movie... We might as well talk about this now. The whole movie, you're kind of expecting, you're kind of biting your nails, like, is it gonna get bad? But there's never an Ernest rap.
Exactly. He never starts speaking in Ebonics.
Some of like Clean Sweep's dialogue is a little clunky, but I'm not quite sure if that's just dated because it's 1995 or it's, or it's because it's the white guys writing the script. But
sure.
Are you ready? You know I am home slice. Like, what? I said home slice. You know I'm ready. Oh! Don't come here with all that tripping now, Ernest.
Me tripping? I'm not tripping. I'm on solid ground.
Shut him down. Shut him down. Slamming and jamming, baby.
Was I slamming and jamming?
It's like pretty good natured.
Ernest starts just schooling the Hornets, right? Like they're basically trying to impress scouts.
Yeah.
And Barry, has been working his ass off his whole life to become a good athlete. He also works very hard for his kid. He didn't put all his eggs on the basketball basket, but he doesn't really get an opportunity to shine because Ernest is just showboating and using his superpowers, right?
Although there are no other werewolves in this film, there's a lot of Teen Wolf in this.
Yeah.
There's a point in Teen Wolf where he takes the ball from his own team.
There's a moment where Ernest catches someone else's ball, and then someone says, "Look, you just turned a 3-pointer into a 2-pointer."
I love that line. Yeah. There's a bit where the whole Clean Sweep team is laying on the court, and Barry's on his cell phone talking to somebody. That was really funny.
But like, aside from Barry, the teammates all are like pretty like positive. They like Ernest's new powers.
For the most part.
Yeah, because their dreams aren't so much pinned on getting in the NBA like Barry's is.
The thing is, Barry never comes off selfish about his aspirations to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
Like you see it in him. He's a very disciplined, honest guy. And I love the fact he never outwardly complains to like his wife or the other players about Ernest being like kind of cheating. We see his frustration through the acting. We also see it through his conversations through his son. And when his son bounces back on him and kind of flips the script on him with, Ernest like got those shoes and now he's great and you've worked your whole life and it doesn't matter. That's hard because like if he can't open up to his son about this stuff, like what has his life philosophy? What is his life script?
Yeah.
It's actually Quincy who says something to Ernest establishing like, you're my hero. And he goes, what about your dad? He's like, no, it's you. And he goes, oh no,
yeah.
I'm a role model and I'm being a bad one.
Yeah.
I've made this little boy who should be looking up to his dad, Barry, is looking up to me and I'm doing this for the wrong reasons.
And it's important that Barry has been established as a good leader for the clean sweep team and company because it's not just, oh, you should respect your parents. It's you have a good parent. You should really look up to that guy. That guy is doing a lot for you. He's working nights as a mall cleaner. He's working an Ernest job. From there on out, Jim Varney basically is playing it like Paul Newman. And I kind of loved that. There's a great moment where Ernest is watching the game and Irma comes over. It's like, oh, why don't you go out there and play? And he like very flatly says, leave me alone. You're not who I thought you were.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about me, Ernest?
You're not what I thought.
You're making a big mistake, Mr. World.
No, I'm not. Now get away from me and leave me alone.
Oh, Ernest.
Both of you. Get away from me and leave me alone.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty because it wasn't like she was just under a spell. Like, yeah, she was always kind of into money and like she was just physically attracted to him. I don't think there was anything else they really had going on. And to see Ernest like have the maturity to him to like reject an attractive woman
to not only like lose his superpower but gain self-respect at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a cool turn.
He doesn't have to come out and say it was the shoes, not me. They just go like, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I know that. The audience has figured that out. The children have figured it out.
It was like
You're
a cool
the
hand.
devil. So second half of the game, Ernest has changed.
Yeah.
And he has just decided he doesn't want the ball anymore. Anyone who passes it to him, he passes it back, but they just want Ernest to win. Even Barry, who is just resigned to like, just do it. Just you take the ball. So they're passing it back and forth. By the way, ESPN is in this movie.
Yep.
I kind of wasn't expecting like
A little bit of money in this movie.
a little bit of money, or maybe they got money from ESPN. I don't know.
Ernest has tossed the shoes by this point, and he can't get anyone else to take the ball. He can't even just relinquish his role. He has to inspire the team. So what does he do? He takes a bullet, like, you know, he takes a foul intentionally to get kicked out of the game. So it's just the clean sweep guys playing. This is kind of the moment that makes this a better movie than School. It's maybe not as funny as School, but it's a better movie. Right.
Quincy realizes like halfway through
Kareem
the game.
Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah. Kareem, the angel, you know, like guilts him into giving the shoes up. So he leaves the game, goes back to the mall, and returns them to Moloch and apologizes. And Moloch is just like,
yeah,
all right, I'm not going to press charges.
Yeah.
So he actually misses his father playing the game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. I guess he still, you know, he finds out. He's like, how'd the game go, Dad? Oh, we won. Not to spoil the ending.
Yeah, spoilers, they
Yeah.
win. Of course, Ernest has to win the game. And because it's an Ernest movie.
Yeah, they end up having to put him back in. I missed why they put him back in the game at the last minute.
I think someone else gets hurt.
Yeah, something like
yeah,
that.
something like that. But Ernest starts to play again, and if it was Ernest Goes to School, he would get the shoes back, and he would use the superpowers one last time.
Sure, yeah.
They'd have like a robot he'd have to play against. But no, it's slam dunk Ernest. So Ernest just makes like a shot on his own.
But it ends up bouncing off everything in the room. It bounces off of Dr. Love's head at one point. And I think that's the end of her character, right? Like the last shot of her.
It might be the very last.
But the only way Ernest could make this shot is through luck, and because it's Ernest, it's dumb luck. So it just happens to bounce off a bunch of stuff and land through the net, and he gets the final point, and they win the game.
Barry gets talked to by a scout.
Yes, they noticed that he was the best player, and it's still like 40. I don't know if he's really gonna. Nonetheless,
he just comes out and said, "I am an agent, and I'm going to get you a contract."
Yeah. Let's go talk in private.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah,
and that's basically the end of the movie.
The real ending. It turns out the film isn't about Ernest playing basketball.
No.
At the very end, the demon Moloch, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the Archangel of Basketball reveal that they have been biding, like the Book of Job style, for poor little Quincy's soul, and they establish they know each other, because we've never seen those two characters interact until the very end of the film.
Not only do they know each other, but they have a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, they've been like doing this for a while.
It was cool. It was kind of cool. It kind of worked.
Yeah, they've just been trying to get tempt Quincy And the Ernest just got in the way, apparently.
Moloch even acknowledges, like, oh, that guy with the brown hat. Like, he didn't even bother to learn Ernest's name.
Yeah.
He makes a joke about, hey, you know where the Phillies are playing? And Kareem is just like, go away.
Fuck you.
We're done with you.
There's some throwaway gag where Ernest falls and they freeze frame on him and then credits.
Yes.
And of course, a little fancy footwork. Know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a very funny ending. It's just Ernest doing his thing a little bit more.
I think they really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So this movie, I think it's good.
Me too.
I think it's a good movie. I think that there's just kind of two camps of Ernest movies. There's the Ernest movies that are trying to be real stories, for lack of a better term, and then there's the ones that are just trying to entertain you.
Yeah, the cartoons versus the
yes.
afternoon special.
It's kind of like, column A, column B you have to fall into.
Yeah.
And like we're like Ernest Goes to Camp, right? Is probably 50-50, right? Which is why I think it resonates with a lot of people. Ernest Goes to Jail is
cartoon.
100%. There's like a sliver of soul in it, maybe. This movie, were there any standout jokes for you guys? Anything that really made you laugh? Like any of the physical humor, like the Ernest pratfall stuff, like.
Yeah, honestly, like Ernest messing around with the shoes and like trying to get them to behave, I thought was like pretty entertaining. I thought the shoes were a good like second fiddle to Ernest.
Yeah. He's trying to dial the phone and everything.
Yeah, that stuff was good. Moloch just kind of made me laugh just because he played the character pretty ridiculously. And yeah.
Ernest Trivia. The character of Moloch, when he's up in the stands watching the game, pokes a hole in the bottom of the soda can and hands it to our friend and director, John Cherry.
Yeah, there's a couple of gags where this demon is like passing food,
takes the hot dog out of the bun and he hands the guy an empty bun.
Yeah, I stole your hot dog.
The aesthetic of this movie, predominantly shot at night, probably due to budgetary constraints. It's easier to rent a mall for a movie when it's after 9 p.m. and everyone's gone.
Oh yeah.
But it helps the movie.
Yeah.
It's not quite as cool looking as Jail, but I think it pops more than School, which means it definitely looks better than Rides Again.
Yes.
Looks better than Camp.
Yeah. I thought School had some cooler lighting, special effects and stuff occasionally.
Better. They had a closed set that was probably available to them for 3 months.
Yeah.
So.
This movie, because it's kind of new territory, like doing like a basketball scenes, I think they played it pretty safe with the angles and the lighting and stuff. So there's not a lot of like visual eye candy in this movie. Even the shoes are kind of underwhelming as a visual, I think.
There are a few scenes that were definitely like the trailer scenes.
Yeah.
Like when Ernest first dunks on his own and the shoes charge up. They sound like a lightsaber or a proton pack or whatever. Like that was definitely like, let's put a little bit of time into like his rim light and his hair light and all that stuff. The first 5 minutes of this movie scared me because there was a lot of extreme wide angle shots of Jim's face again. And after about 10 minutes, they knocked that off and the movie started looking a little more normal. I think they wanted to ease people into a more sincere, mature, Ernest story. Do you think the relationships between Barry and Quincy and Ernest realizing he's a role model and all the more mature stuff that comes from the morality play, do you think it makes up for the fact that maybe it's not that funny? Maybe it's not that funny in Ernest movie.
Because I watch these movies as an adult, and I try to think like, maybe I'm not laughing the whole way, but as a kid, I probably would be laughing a lot more. Oh, you know what? You know what I did like? Again, it's Ernest with a snake, but Ernest doing the snake thing.
I'll just sit over here on the bench like a coiled cobra, throbbing with power.
A lot of the jokes, other than Jim Varney improvising, like when he's on the bench or when he's Humphrey Bogart with the mop, a lot of the written jokes, are just people making fun of Ernest. The clean sweep saying like, you're a joke, you're a goof, which they know no one is watching this. Even when it was new, no one is watching this as their first Ernest movie.
Like there are fun lines of dialogue where TJ says, "How are we going to win with an Ernest?" Like things like
with
that.
an Ernest.
there was a good gag with Will and Dr. Love where he comes over and he says, "If beauty was a minute, you'd be an hour." Things like that, like very poetic, flowery stuff about how gorgeous she is. And then he ends like this like sonnet towards her with,
"Girl, sign my head."
Less garish humor, I will say, and I appreciated that about it.
You brought up a relevant point. Number one, Ernest plays no other characters.
Yeah.
We see him in his, fantasies. He is Ernest with a leather jacket on the catwalk, and he's Ernest wearing the vest-style tuxedo, but Ernest never plays a character.
Right. There's one other big difference that sets this movie apart from the other Ernest movies.
Correct.
And that is, let's throw up that chart just for reference, the two assholes who are not Ernest chart.
Yeah.
The opening band of comedy, if you will.
The Tulip Brothers, Chuck and Bobby, the Exeronius guys.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing like that in this movie.
It is not missed.
It kind of felt like, well, this is not quite the same. It's just, it's not missed, but it's missing, I guess. I feel like we do have to put something on that chart, just so there's not a gap. I'm going to say it's Irma and Molly.
Yeah, okay.
They kind of have a few scenes together. They kind of have a comedy routine going. They're only together in one scene without Ernest.
Yeah.
But I think that's just enough to count. So I'm gonna have them on the chart.
Irma is played by Stevie Valance. She does voice acting coaching to this day. She did a good job. Super funny. There's a great scene where she's telling Ernest how much her heart is pounding for him, and he listens and he hears the cash register going off.
My heart beats so hard. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty funny.
I forgot that.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff there. I think she did a good job.
I want to say these direct-to-video movies kind of benefit from moving to Vancouver and having access to this pool of actors who are more professional and have been in a lot of stuff and continue to be in stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of, I think, has improved the non-Ernest acting in the movies.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think this movie puts Ernest front and center with the moral dilemma, the plot of the film, more than Christmas does. And they're both kind of heavy, and there's like themes of cynicism and doing the right thing and blah, 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 blah. But in Christmas, my biggest issue was he's an accessory to this story. He's not the story. In here, no, he's the story.
In this movie, he has his own arc that totally ties in with the arcs of the other characters.
Yeah.
And it's probably a better screenplay.
I think this movie is also probably responsible for Angels in the Outfield sequel, Angels in the End Zone, being a football film and not a basketball film.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would have been the same damn movie.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take some questions from our Guaranteed Video patrons. And we got a few here. You can solicit questions over at guaranteedvideo.com. We'll take them every few weeks for the show. Our first question comes from CJ Hitchcock. CJ asks, has there ever been any animated shorts or features that star Ernest? Was Ernest ever a cartoon? Do you think an animated version of Jim Varney would be a respectful way of rebooting the character?
Great question, because we even had this very discussion in the past of, with poor Jim Varney having passed away, if they were to ever bring him back, what would they do?
Yeah.
What they did, well, you know those like the General commercials with the bad CGI?
Yeah.
They kind of tried to do that with Ernest, and the one I've seen doesn't have sound, so it's this really creepy, just puppet Ernest talking. I don't like them.
I think these videos got out. I don't think the people responsible for them are very proud of them. But bringing back Ernest as a pitchman after Jim Varney has passed away for the sole purpose of selling cars or toothpaste or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could it be just would it work as an animated character? Absolutely, but it would have to be done right.
But not as a commercial. It would have to be like just an Ernest movie. Pika Bread asks, if you could recommend just one Ernest film of the films you've thus far ranked and reviewed for someone to watch, which would it be? My pick is Goes to Jail because I'm an adult, and for me it has the strongest beginning, middle, and end writing structure of all the Ernest films.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had to pick just one movie, if you had to sell someone on Ernest today, what's the Ernest movie you show them? I don't know. I don't think it would be Scared Stupid. Because I think
it's tough. I think it really depends on who you're recommending it to, right?
Maybe. My money's on Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam, because if you didn't hear about it through a context like this, you've never heard of it.
Dr. Otto would be good if I was in college and I had to sell some friends on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jail, I think, is really funny, but depending on who you're recommending it to,
annoy them.
It's a little bit more annoying.
Yeah.
Christmas, I think, is kind of a safe bet. I'd say.
Yeah.
I think you get an idea of who Ernest is, what the humor is like, but there's enough downtime in that movie. You're not going to like give someone a migraine.
Yeah, if it's around the holidays, like right now, November, December, watch Ernest Saves Christmas. That's the safe one.
It's like the middle of the road.
Ernest Saves Christmas is a solid. I'm still saying Dr. Otto, but it depends on the audience.
It's Dr. Otto if you're into like films.
Yes.
Like if you're like
if you like weird stuff and cult films, Dr. Otto is definitely a trip.
Yeah, and you could probably stomach it better than like my dad would be like, what is this?
Yeah, but if you have a friend who just like missed the Ernest boat or they're too young to remember it, something like, I'd say Scared Stupid probably works too, just because it's kind of more of a spectacle with all the troll makeup and stuff. And
Sure.
It almost works without Ernest, you know?
Yeah. One last question from our patrons. Stephen Crawford asks, do you think there would be any value to an Ernest Goes to Broadway? Are there any elements in the films that would help or hurt a theater production? When I first read this question, I thought, is that the title of the movie, Ernest Goes to Broadway? Which I can more easily imagine than a stage production of Ernest.
Well, first of all, is it a musical?
It would have to be.
It'd have to be.
I think.
So is it just... So, yeah, there's enough songs in Ernest movies.
Okay.
So...
Who's playing Ernest? Is it like Neil Patrick Harris?
Let's assume it's Jim Varney. Let's assume it's 1994 and Jim Varney's doing it.
Jim Varney, he's got stage experience.
How weary, stale, flat and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Know what I mean?
So I think you could make... I think it would have to be a meta play. I think it would have to be about like Ernest living in New York City and he gets into a theatrical production.
By happenstance, he didn't earn it.
It'd be like Hamlet, how there's like a play within a play.
Ernest is a live show with Jim Varney as Ernest. Works much better at like a demolition derby than Broadway.
Yeah.
Jim Varney does do such loud acting at times. I think he could play to a theater in a way. I think it would translate easier than some other Hollywood actors.
I'm worried he'll get hurt.
Yeah, or he'll get hurt.
I think it would work better in a smaller play, not Broadway, just like not even a musical, but Ernest as a character in a play.
Sure.
I think that would be really cool to watch.
So you mean Neil, he's not the lead? He's
not the lead, no.
Oh, all right. All right.
And he can talk to the audience.
Oh, he can break the fourth wall, and we're all Vern.
Yeah, we're all Vern.
All Vern.
Yeah, and if you had to do it on Broadway, you'd have to get like these giant TV screens behind the play, and whenever he talked to the audience, they'd have to get a cameraman right up in his face so everyone could like see him on the Jumbotron.
Even the cheap seats.
Yeah, they'd have to do that. Like an 8mm lens, just like
and he'd be like changing costumes and playing different characters and stuff.
Auntie Nelda would show up.
Yeah, he'd be so fucking exhausted.
Just smoking butts. Yeah. All right, let's do this. The time has come, Ernest Rouletters. We're going to rank Slam Dunk Ernest amongst the rest of the Ernest P. Worrell filmography.
Yes.
As of the ending of our previous episode, what was our ranking, Neil?
From the bottom up, Rides Again, worst movie. Goes to School, Goes to Camp, Dr. Otto, Saves Christmas, and then tied for first place was Scared Stupid and Goes to Jail.
Ryan Murphy, is Slam Dunk Ernest better than Ernest Rides Again?
Yes, it is.
Neil?
Yes.
I agree. It's definitely better than Rides Again. Ryan, is Slam Dunk Ernest better than Ernest Goes to School?
On my list, no.
Neil?
I put it above Goes to School.
I did as well. What was your hesitation? What's like the big coin toss there?
I like the Flowers for Algernon story. They are very similar movies.
Yeah.
I would argue that in a lot of ways that Slam Dunk Ernest has more heart. It is objectively a better movie. I just feel weird about Ebonics being written and directed by white guys.
That's true. There might have been some improv, but there's too much in there to it all have been on set. It had to have come from a white guy writing. I can see that. Okay.
It just, again, there's a lot of merits to Slam Dunk Ernest, and I went in with a lot of trepidation about, is this gonna be cringeworthy? And it's shockingly not.
So, is Slam Dunk Ernest better than Ernest Goes to Camp?
I don't think so.
Yeah? What is it about Camp that makes you definitively say it's better?
I think Camp is just a more fun experience. It's not necessarily a better movie, but I think as a movie for children, I think the serious parts, the vegetables of Goes to Camp, are so direct and vicious and mean that it's probably a way more memorable movie for a kid.
Okay. That's why Rides Again fails, is that there's not a lot of like contrast and punch. Whereas Camp does still have that despite being kind of a vanilla looking sounding movie.
Exactly. Emotionally, it's a very high contrast movie.
I gotta say, if I were to rewatch Slam Dunk, I would probably fast forward to when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shows up.
Sure.
Yeah. And as adults, I think we appreciate the writing in Slam Dunk and the father-son relationship stuff. But I think for a kid's movie, that is almost just too subtle.
Okay.
It's good, but I think that's why I would put Camp above it.
Okay. So
you disagree, right?
Your vote is Camp is better. Ryan, is Camp better than Slam Dunk?
I say no.
Oh man, so it's down to me. It's a real coin toss for me. I have my issues with Camp. I know it's some people's favorite. For good reason. You know, it's very much an Ernest movie. I'm sure there are people out there screaming right now, like, of course Camp is better. And I will abdicate to that. I will go with my head over my heart, and I will say Camp is probably a better movie.
I think you're going with your heart over your head in that case, which is fine.
So what's our final ranking?
Our final ranking is, adjusted for our evolving opinions, still tied for first is Jail and Scared Stupid, followed by Saves Christmas, Goes to Camp, then Slam Dunk Ernest, and below that is Dr. Otto, Goes to School, and Rides Again.
And there you have it, our new definitive ranking of the Ernest P. Worrell films. Join us again in 2 weeks, where we spin the roulette wheel to see which Ernest movie we watch next.
Hey Kevin, want to play some basketball?
Yeah, throw me the rock.